Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 18th, 2024. It is Friday. Congratulations to everybody that it is, thank God it's Friday. And what you see in the beginning of the video is, as you can see yourself from Solovyov Live, Solovyov being, well, I wouldn't say that he's the most watched, but he's certainly important part of the Russian media sphere, and it shows you basically the retreat of whatever is remaining from all those brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine, which of course invaded Kursk segment, essentially, which is now shrinking pretty fast. And that's what they are, that's their retreat. And as you can see yourself, they are being tracked by the Russian UAVs, drones. And let's not go let's say some seconds, let's put it this way, or minutes, which will and the events which will happen already happened after this video, because obviously the Russians operate on this premise in all spheres and all domains that it was derived in the 1980s, that if I can see you, I will kill you. And this is exactly what's happening. But the most important part in this retreat, if you paid attention to it, it's just all on foot. There's very little of the equipment left there, most of it NATO equipment. And just to demonstrate to you how it all happens, you probably remember, and listen, I'm not making this up or something. It's all well documented how the British and their military, they threatened Russians with those wonderful Challenger tanks. And I demonstrated to you in the last video that one of them have been found in the swamp, obviously being blown up and drove into it. And here is the very interesting photo, which you have to keep in mind when you talk about NATO technology. I'm not saying that NATO technology, all of it junk, make no mistake. But what is important about a special military operation, it was exposed as really not designed to fight a real war. This is the photo of the back of the turret of this Challenger. So it ended up in the swamp, not because it just missed the road. No, what you see is what remains of the backside of its turret. Well, let me tell you, my friends, obviously this is the result of the stock, the ammo exploding. But here is this issue. Most modern tanks, let alone Russian tanks, they do not actually have their back, side of their turrets, torn apart by the explosion of the ammo, of those shells, which they keep obviously in the turret most of the time. Some of them, obviously, are kept in the what is called carousel in the or most of the modern Russian tanks with the autoloaders. But here it is. You see, that used to be called the best tank in the world, with this mysterious Chobam armor, and it has literally, the backside of its turret just torn apart. So that brings us to the issue of the design, basically. Tradition of the tanks. I don't know how you have to design the tank that it has its backside torn apart. But yeah, it's just demonstration. It's one of many things which you have to keep in mind when looking at what is happening there. And it's just pretty much manifests itself all over the place. So before I go into political news today, because I need to comment on that, and this I write about them obviously approaching of Kazan and BRICS Summit for the last week or so. Let's take a look what we have operationally, so to speak, at the front line. Here are the numbers of the latest yesterday. As you can see yourself, it dipped day before yesterday below 2000. It comes up again. and it's very active. So as you can see yourself, 2,460, it is primarily KIAs. So, and as you can see yourself, even officially, by the most conservative, extremely, stringent criteria for the counting of the KIAs and wounded from the armed forces of Ukraine, which, as I already stated, you can easily multiply it by 2. We even that now we approaching this official, the most conservative estimate. Well, it's approaching 1 million, and this is just what Russians count, and as I already stated, multiplied by 2, that's what probably you're gonna get, give and take, in terms of the KIAs, and you add here easily 1 million of the wounded. So, and we can take a look at what is happening now. For example, Konstantinovka. Here's our good friend Marat, shows that Russians are, just going along the lines, so to speak, along the roads towards Konstantinovka, as you can see yourself. And this is from yesterday. And you can see yourself the front moving there too. And then, of course, we have the Kremlin situation. And as you can see yourself from the Kremlin situation, defenses of the armed forces of Ukraine. And you know what, I'm kind of, let's put it this way, especially after Vladimir Putin's interview, of which I will be talking in a few minutes, it's not really armed forces of Ukraine. These are not NATO forces. They are run by NATO. They are commanded, tactically and operationally by NATO. And so you can see yourself, it's not fun for those guys, as you can see yourself, like say in Torskaya, Zaryechная, or if any other points here, fighting with their backs towards backs to the water. And yeah, you basically, how to say, doomed, essentially. You're sentenced to die there. And this is what we have now around this area. And yeah, the movement all over the front. And because of this movement, we have some bizarre things. So, for example, like we have this guy. Vladimir Zelensky has denied the German tabloid claim that Ukraine is, as you say yourself, Kiev has the capability to build a nuclear weapon. In a few weeks, German tabloid Bild reported on Thursday, citing high-ranking Ukrainian official. Well, we know that German journalists are morons. I mean, they are, and especially in Bild. Look at Julian Robke, the guy is a certified imbecile. But yeah, it's so easy to make a nuclear bomb, right? In a few weeks. The report comes after Vladimir Zelensky alluded to such a possibility during a visit to Brussels on the same day. The Ukrainian leader claimed his country needs either nuclear weapons or membership of NATO. Bild has now revealed that a Ukrainian official involved in weapons procurement claimed a few months ago that Kyiv was willing to go nuclear. We have the material, we have the knowledge, if the order is given, we will only need a few weeks to have the first bomb. So yeah, it's unnamed probably very high. I mean, there are many drug abusers in the Zelensky administration because they actually have to deal with the stresses and of the realities on the front lines and the political situation in the world and how United States begins to throw them out into the dumpster, essentially. But the point is, I mean, Russian Duma, for example, and such people like General Andrei Kartapolov, who is the chair of the Duma's Committee on the Armed Services, they laughed it off because obviously people in Bild do not understand what nuclear weapon is, and he correctly stated it's such a garbage to even spread this. And no, Ukraine doesn't have specialists. It might have some kind of the whatever plutonium or whatever they need to do it, but guys, nuclear weapons, they require such a serious infrastructure, and considering the essentially the well, in the energy sector and much of the industrial sector of Ukraine destroyed. So yeah, I don't know what they're thinking about. Obviously they spread this BS, and it has been already actually debunked by none other than people from the Zelensky administration, who came out of, swinging, saying no, we never meant this. Well, they have the reasons to be afraid, because the moment, let's imagine, somehow Ukraine gets the nuclear weapon, even one, whatever, one bomb or two. Do you know what's going to happen? Yes, we all know what's going to happen because Russia is not going to tolerate it. And after that, well, what can I say? But evidently, as I already stated, it has been debunked. Now, which brought us to the, again, what amounts to nothing more than propaganda. And Mr. Peskov speaking, well, Maria Zakharova called it what it is, propaganda, but Mr. Peskov also went on record about the nuclear negotiations and, this thing about prospects of nuclear talks with the US. And, Russians are very reserved. They do not insult people. I do. For example, I enjoy calling them nincompoops what they are. But, Russians have class, unlike the Washington. And so they go out and speak in this kind of, calming down terms, which, by the way, probably the part of the modus operandi under these circumstances today. And so Peskov comes out and says that any security talks should be broader in scope given the current state of affairs. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. In fact, and he's talking about, because United States floated this idea that, oh yeah, let's talk about, nuclear talks. Well, Zakharov already called it that's bluff and BS, which I agree completely. United States needs to show that, we somehow, we're trying to establish the peace all over the world. We are against everything bad for everything good. But as he said, in fact, our president has already spoken about this. Russia considers such contacts necessary and they cannot be postponed, but we must consider all security issues as a whole, taking into account the current state of the affairs. And he says that, in the conditions of the war that is being waged against Russia, with the indirect and even direct involvement of nuclear powers such as the US, UK, and France, it is absolutely impossible to talk about this without contextualizing the topic to all other security aspects. In other words, this is a very polite Kremlin style basically saying that go pound sand. Russia is not talking to you. And yeah, if Russia ever will begin to talk about serious negotiations with the United States about the nuclear arsenals, yeah, Russians are on record for so many years, decades, actually, where are the nuclear arsenals of the France and United Kingdom? Simple as that. But yeah, it's all kind of, the posturing on the part of NATO, which has been defeated. It's basically clear as the clearest day during summer. But we have to go and take a look also at what kind of, surrounds it all. And of course, this is one of the examples. Kazan BRICS Summit is coming in 4 days. It's already huge. Preparations are on the way. Obviously, Ukraine and United States will try to attack leaders of the BRICS countries and huge number of the guests which will be attending this meeting. But so I'm pretty sure Kazan is being defended properly, and FSB has a lot of work to do, but they are doing it, including the Federal Service of the of Guards, so to speak, FSO, and it's kind of secret service in Russian. So, and this is the thing. This is what is this all about. This is the foundation of America's hysterical, almost desperate attempts to do something and trying to harm Russia. As you can see yourself, this is just introduction of BRICS pay card. Many people went out, and I had this. I'm really sick and tired of this discussion that, oh my God, look at this, they have the rainbow colors on their, on this card, which is, the cash card of 500 rubles. Well, in Russia, the rainbow is just rainbow, and it is a very positive thing. And for children, it's a goodness, it's, something pleasant, it's something wonderful and beautiful. So just, that's to explain to people who have kind of begin to read, kind of double meaning on this. No, it's just a rainbow, which basically tells you about the unification of the world, disregarding the races and ethnicities and so on. So this is a very good card, and this little card terrifies Washington. It terrifies pretty much the whole establishment, because they know, because that everything what is happening right now and what will be happening in Kazan, it is move along the way of the, basically discarding dollar as the main reserve currency, and obviously introduction of this BRICS Pay payment system. Oh my gosh! And it's not the only one. Evidently, there's a number of things which are happening there financially, which terrify the central bank of the United States and Federal Reserve Bank, if you wish, and obviously against the background of the debt, national debt, which the United States will never be able to repay. So they are thinking now how to put the debt on the shoulders of other countries. Well, good luck with that. But even the World Bank, and again, it's World Bank, so they are given the latest, forecast, as you can see yourself, of fall of 2024. As you can see yourself, they give the forecast of the Russia economic growth. They lower it to 3.2, while in reality, obviously, even that number, while very impressive, in reality, it's not reality. It's much higher than that, but hey, whatever. And they still show the growth of Russian Federation, while in reality, all the numbers, they have to be taken with the huge grain of salt, but even they cannot hide it anymore. They cannot lie about it. So, and here we have the situation, which of course precedes, so to speak, it's the Vladimir Putin's press conference today with the representatives of the BRICS media. As you can see yourself, here we have Vladimir Putin answered questions heads of the leading media in the BRICS countries. The meeting took place on the eve of the summit association in Kazan. It's October 18th, it's today's, as you can see yourself, it is in a proper hall with all this insignia of BRICS summit. And so Putin begins to talk about some things which are extremely interesting. And as you can see yourself, somebody asks about, obviously, Chinese media organization asks Vladimir Putin about the situation between Russia and China. And Vladimir Putin responds that it is true that we have a unique relationship with China. They are very trusting, and the volume of trade and economic ties is growing rapidly. According to our statistics, somewhere between 226 and 228 billion. According to Chinese statistics, the turnover between our countries is already about 240. Yes, Russia and China will reach, speaking in pure dollars, their benchmark of 300 billion fairly soon. And Vladimir Putin correctly states that this speaks for itself. And he talks about why it is unique. He said, we listen to each other. 5 to 7 years ago, together with the Chinese leadership at the level of the government, at the level of the top political leadership, my friend President Xi Jinping and I spoke many times about the fact that we need to improve the trade balance, and we need to think about what we can do to ensure that Russian products are also industry in a larger volume deliver into the Chinese market. It's machine translation. So, and he's talking about that, basically that now as for the relations between China and the United States, we do not meddle in these issues, just as we do not meddle in relations between colleagues are sitting here, he explains, and they will immediately understand what I'm talking about, say Ethiopia and Egypt. Do you see what I'm talking about? This is absolutely correct. But Russian and Chinese navies continue to train just in case, and these are unique relations without practically any kind of the formalized military alliance being signed. Russians and Chinese just do it. They just operate as the joint force, and they are preparing China to meet any kind of the possible the contingency, including the some nut job, in Washington deciding to try China around Taiwan, and then we have a huge war developing there. So. And he's talking to Vladimir Putin, talking about the largest economy in the world today. And it's not just in terms of the purchase power parity, but it's China, obviously. These are all statistics. You see, although Vladimir Putin already spoke on a number of occasions that these GDP numbers are complete fraud, but still, it's just to demonstrate to people what we are dealing with. And he says that the United States is in the second place, India is in the third place, and by the way, the Russian Federation is in fourth place. space, and we are slightly ahead of Japan. So, and yeah, this is absolutely true. And as I already stated, some sectors like Japan, yeah, they still, for example, produce very serious, electronics. They have magnificent shipbuilding, but there are other things where Japan is not even the competitor to Russia, be that aerospace industry, let alone military-industrial complex, and especially the energy production. And make no mistake, when people talk about energy, they have to keep in mind Russia doesn't just mine things. It produces a whole variety of the what is called high value added products, ranging from the gasoline to all kinds of the polymers. That is why, for example, Russians solved fairly easily and fairly fast the issue of the composite materials required for the aerospace industry. Russia produces her all composites, all of them, from fiberglass to carbon fibers and what have you. So, but yeah, this is a very serious thing. And then, of course, Vladimir Putin talks about what is, of course, the talk which creates a complete, the paralysis in the West. So, about finances, he's talking about finances. And again, do not forget, this is the work which continues. It's ongoing, non-stop. It's not like some single event. And he's talking about, and what concerns finances. Yes, we did not refuse, say, the dollar as a universal currency. We were denied its use, but now it's 95% of all foreign trade of Russia is carried out with our partners in national currencies. They did it with their own hands. Well, so they thought that everything would collapse. No, nothing collapsed. And here it's all developing on the new basis in Russia, and that's what it's difficult to explain to these people who have their economic degrees from Ivy League. They do not understand what real economy is. They know how to make money out of the air, which is the finances. And he talks about that in our trade with China, 95% is the ruble and the yuan. By the way, the yuan is also used by us in settlements with third countries, which contributes to the strengthening of the yuan as the international monetary union. Not because China wants to hurt anyone. No, it doesn't do anything bad to anyone. It's just the way it is, situations and circumstances. So, which is correct. United States killed essentially the dollar on its own volition. Even Mr. Trump admits it. But you know what? It's too late now to, as Russians say, to drink mineral water when your kidneys basically gave up on you. And so he was talking about that we created bank, which is headed by Mrs. Rusev, and he's talking that Mrs. Rusev and I have met several times. She's a good specialist, understands everything. We need to talk about how to create an appropriate insurance platform, a pool of reserve currencies. All is necessary, gradually strengthening, so that these are not declaration, but really working tooling. This is what is happening, and this is what is happening now, and is going to be happening in Kazan. And he's talking about the good prospects for all this, including BRICS bank, and as I already stated, this just pay system, which of course is independent from SWIFT, which is the BRICS pay. That's, as I already stated, for dollar, and well, that's dollar, the only real reserve currency. It's a terrifying prospect. SWIFT can go, and screw itself, so that it's not going to be needed very soon. Well, it's already pretty much Russia operates on completely different premises, and but the main thing which Mr. Putin stated, and people this early morning, they started to write me in all kinds of messaging and Telegram channel that, boy, you're gonna love it. When Mr. Putin talking to this press conference, he stated that, well, modern war is mathematics. Well, I'm quoting Mr. Putin, okay? I'm nobody. That's Mr. Putin who's talking about, okay? And he obviously is briefed by people none other than Mr. Gerasimov, the chief of the general staff. Mr. Gerasimov knows about the war about better than anybody else in the world, okay? So, and when he talks to that like this, and this is the guy, and Mr. Gerasimov being the chief of the general staff, he has 9 years academic, apart from the combat experience, immense combat experience, and command experience. He has 9 years of the academy. He's a PhD in military science. So, and that's a lot of math, believe me. So, and here what Mr. Putin comes out, and this is all still in the this press conference, as you can see yourself, and he's talking about the conflict with NATO. Victory will be ours. It already happened. It's just that we are, as I already stated, in the arrangement phase. And during the meeting, he said, NATO is at war with us, but with the hands of Ukrainian soldiers. Ukraine doesn't spare its soldiers in the interest of third states, but Ukraine does not use high-tech weapons itself. This is done by NATO, and the Russian army fights on its own and creates military products itself and makes software itself. This is a huge difference. And especially recently, I reckon this. The Russian army, of course, is becoming not just one of the most high-tech, well, actually, it is the most high-tech nowadays, but also the most combat-ready, which is absolutely true. The president says, his words are quoted by the Kremlin's Telegram channel. And he says, and when NATO gets tired of fighting with us, ask them this too. That will confirm, we're ready to continue this fight and victory will be ours, said Putin. Which is absolutely correct, and that terrifies Pentagon, that terrifies of those military planners, because they thought, as I already stated, by their planning, which they cannot do proper planning, again, strategic forecasting and strategic intelligence does not exist as such in the United States and in the combined West. I heard Mr. Burns speaking. The guy has no clue what he's talking about. He is a diplomat with the Foreign Service, Corps with the Georgetown. He might have been a spook, but he has absolutely zero background and passing judgments and assessments on the military geopolitical matters. And I heard, I spoke about this in my last video. It is excruciating to listening to him because he speaks in platitudes, gaslighting, and somebody has to come to him and ask, do you know that, as Mr. Putin stated, do you know that the war is mathematics? And it's also real economy, industrial economy. It's not just finances. Finances are the derivatives of the real industrial economy. Of course, when it is balanced across the whole spectrum of the economic activities of the nation, because you obviously need finances, you obviously need money, you obviously need some services, no doubt about it. Nobody argues with that. But and then he will not understand. Vladimir Putin does understand that, and he has technocrats also all over the place who know what they are doing, and they know what are the real criteria of for example, winning the war. And when he says we're ready to go at it as long as possible, of which I've been on record for, very many months now, yeah, Russia is in the business not defeating Ukraine. Ukraine has been defeated. It's just the matter, as I already stated, how do you arrange front? Russians are not Russian because why? They spared the lives of their soldiers. They really care about their own soldiers. So, yeah, it's just, steamroller, meat grinder, and it's not now meat grinder about armed forces of Ukraine, or it's about NATO forces. And Russia wants, and is achieving it really well, demilitarized NATO. And this is in the progress, so to speak, and Russia is in the process of demilitarizing NATO, which of course doesn't have resources, nor experience, nor academic capability to fight modern 21st century war. And Kazan, which is coming in 4 days, and that will be interesting week. Granted that, again, some nut job from Ukraine or United States and London being butthurt through the roof, so to speak, will not try to do something stupid. But other than that, we are looking at Kazan 2024, which has pretty much most of the world being guests there. The announcement of the new era in the in geopolitics. The shifting of the basically power pole away from the United States, which it already was abdicating anyway. Not trying obviously to still be as people, doing this, legerdemain and, this whole Wizard of Oz, routine. And this is understandable. But the point is, it's over for the empire. And if it's not going to the World War III, which is thermonuclear, then yeah, no matter what they do in Washington now, they have to face the consequences of what they have committed in the last basically 10 years. They screwed it up. If you go back to my blog and read it, I believe it was January 2015, I already stated. They got involved into Ukraine. They don't understand what they started. They screwed up with the wrong people, with the wrong country. And we have the results today. And the results will be announced to a large extent, to a large degree, in Kazan 2024. And I'm really looking forward to it because it's going to be very fascinating thing to talk about and observe. And this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford it, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And I'm laying the new, not me really, we hired people doing the new floors in the master bedroom. So, I mean, Saturday, maybe Sunday, I will not be online. But just in case. So, and I'll talk to you later, and have a nice Friday and coming weekend for yourself. Talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.